Okay, this is a video on how to apply the vinyl labels to your glass bottles, and I'll also be going over applying it to the 10 milliliter roller bottles, to putting a smaller label on that one. So this is how your label will come to you in the mail. So our first thing we do is to flip it over and take off the backing. Most likely the letters will have already stuck to the transfer tape and it shouldn't be an issue to take the backing off, but just go a little slowly and make sure that everything is sticking to the tape and not to this backing. All right, put that off to the side, and that leaves us with the letters on top of the transfer tape. And what I do is kind of take, since the thieves itself is, you know, up and down and up and down, it's a little harder for me to line it up straight, but these letters here are straight, obviously. So we want to try and line those up, but don't necessarily put those down first. What I kind of do is hold it in the air. Try not to let any part of this touch the bottle until you're completely ready to put it all on. So I line up the cleaner and then I kind of just lay it on there and let it kind of fall into place, and then smooth everything out. So I'm just gonna push down over the transfer tape on all parts of all the letters, just to do my best to get them to stick to the bottle before I peel the tape off. And then I just start with this top edge and I start peeling it back. So I'll peel back the tape, and then I kind of just fold it back over on itself, and then just kind of, I don't lift, I'm more like I don't even know what that's called, glide? Just kind of smush it across. Usually, quite often, either this part of the T or the top part of the T will try and still stick to the tape. You just kind of have to either push it back down and smush it, or just, you can also try and peel it off the tape and then smush it down onto the bottle. So I'm just kind of gliding it back. And as I come across the beginning of each new part of each letter, I make sure that it's not sticking to the tape, that it's making sure it's sticking to the bottle. And then just kind of pull it along. Down here, these letters are ones that'll often try and come up with the tape, so we have to make sure we're paying attention to the top and the bottom at this point. This is being a very good label for me. Oh, there you go. You can see that the top part of the A there is trying to come up with the tape, so I'm gonna push it back down and just push on it, and it stuck that time. But I want to make sure as I'm going, I'm paying attention to both top and bottom. And if you can see here, the E is trying to come up with the tape, so I'm gonna push it back down, and this time it's stuck. And the E, you probably didn't see it, but the R almost came off, but it didn't. And then don't get too fast here. So here, if you can see, the S is trying to come up with the tape, and then down here it's also trying to come up. And then don't go too fast again, because this little swirl on the S also often likes to pull up with the tape. So I just keep going a little bit at a time until I'm all the way done. And there is our bottle with the label put on. These instructions that I just gave for putting it on, this is a 16-ounce bottle. This applies to any of the bottles, really. It applies to any size label that you buy, I should say. 8-ounce, 4-ounce, 2-ounce, all the same technique. Now we're going to move on to our 10 milliliter roller bottle, which is also the same technique, but since the letters are smaller, the smaller the letters, the more delicate they are. So we want to just take even more time when we do it. So that you do this by peeling off the back of your label and just go slowly to make sure all of the letters are sticking to the transfer tape and not to the back of the vinyl. Then you flip it over, and I mean, you have to line it up as best as you can. It is a little, you know, cursive-y and loopy, so we want to make sure, you know, just line it up how you think it looks best. And then usually I just kind of let the center of it fall onto the bottle, and then I'll wrap around the rest of it, and then I'll kind of smush it around, pushing on all of the parts of every letter to make sure I'm doing my part as best as I can to get it to stick to the bottle, because now we're going to start peeling up the tape. So I start up at the top left corner and kind of fold the tape back over itself, and then I take my thumb and I kind of just peel it off. Not rip it up, but more push it over. And then you just have to watch as you're going to make sure that each part of the letter is staying on the bottle. I kind of need to hold it here, so hopefully you can still see. This one's being pretty good so far. Oftentimes, like I said, the more delicate the piece is, like the little pieces of the pea are very thin, the more likely they're going to try and peel up with the tape and not stick to the bottle as easily. This one is doing pretty well for me. All right, that one came off pretty well. If you are having issues with your letters sticking to the tape, go back earlier in the video when I was applying a label to a bigger bottle, and I give a few tips on what I do when things start peeling up. But then you have your label on your 10 milliliter bottle.